We'll let the airplane pass because like, hey man, I live by the airport. Hence the noise. Hey man, life is noisy.
I think there's a reminder that there's always other places that you can go.
How poetic, indeed. All right now. Well, welcome to the Wishbeads podcast. My special guest today, Devon McNairy. Oh my goodness. Devon, I am so excited to chat with you because there's two things that I'm thinking about. Devon and I are parents at the same elementary school where our children attend class. They're friends. And then one of the greatest things about having your kids go to a school that you love is the parents and the parent community.
Right.
And I have to tell you, like, I feel like you saw me and what I was doing with Wishbeads, and it was like, boom. And so I kind of am curious today to talk about your own Wishbeads experience, but also like, let's just talk about, you know, I don't know, how you and I have kind of gone on this journey together, you know?
Well, I mean, I think about like our journey and how we connected. I mean, number one, I mean, it was obvious to me that there was just something about you and what you were doing. I knew you were up to something. I just didn't know what it was.
I'm always up to something.
You know, but I knew, you know, of course, by knowing you, knowing your husband, knowing your mom, knowing your kids, you know, it was kind of like destined that we were actually going to be able to spend some time together and talk about what we were doing. But I just remember that initial conversation about Wishbeads and what you were doing. We're sitting on the patio, and there we were outside of the head of school, Joel's office, literally sitting on the patio, like we're not even at a school. We're really like in someone's like backyard or something, right? True. And we talked about some really key things that I think you and I both value and that we relate on. And when you started talking about Wishbeads and you started sharing with me exactly what it was all about, it just resonated with me. And
that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny, and I think part of my excitement about the podcast and about sharing what the bigger thing that I'm doing is that because it's so much more than a piece of jewelry. And I'm doing this in such a way that is really holding bigger visions, bigger ideas. One of which, well, I'm going to tell you this now. I'm going to tell you this now.
Okay, I want to hear.
So on April 14th, so you know I have what my big wish is, the one that's on my black bracelet. So this wish, this one right here, my matte black onyx, is for my 2020 event, 1 Million Wishes. 1 million people wishing at once for peace.
Absolutely.
This is so crazy of an outrageous an idea. This idea that somehow, some way, we're going to have a live event. So there's going to be people there. You absolutely have to be there. Like,
you don't want to be there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no, you're going to be there. Like, I want the whole family there.
Oh, there we go.
But then also have people who have pledged to join in virtually, to tune in. We're going to do a meditation and a wish for peace at once at some point in 2020. Now, how I am going to pull this off, I have no clue. But I have enlisted the powers that be, and I keep talking about it. The wheels are in motion. But I think that there are sometimes in anyone's entrepreneurial journey, and I'm sure in the same with yours as well, where you find the people that really see you and get you and understand that there's something bigger, and that's what excites them. And from the moment that you and I connected and you just sensed that there was this other thing happening with me, it was so exciting and so supportive, which I will never forget. And I'm so deeply appreciative, you know, now. And I'm telling you, like, you know, for eons to come, because when you're making something, more or less, sometimes it feels like in a vacuum, you need those sounding boards. Do you remember the day when I came and you and Roger were standing in the courtyard, and I was like, guys, I'm really wondering whether I should, you know, go after some more investment money. And you both looked at me and you're like, no. No. But sometimes you just need your people around you to just say, all right, this is where I'm going. Where am I focusing my energy? You know, it may look more polished from the outside, but we are building the plane, flying the plane, same time. Yeah, over at Wishbeads.
I mean, it's all about the angst. I mean, the one thing about like what people like you or myself, or you mentioned Roger, as another example. I mean, when you have a passion or a vision within you, the only reason that it works, really, to be honest with you, is it's because of you. It's because of that passion. You live in it. And, you know, people who exist in that space recognize others very quickly. And we're almost very, well, for me at least, I become very protective of that. Not protective against anything outside, but protective of sometimes life kind of offering challenges that would possibly make a person compromise in some small way what their vision is or a passion is, because you may enroll someone else into investing into what you're doing, or you may find some infusement. But what's lost is that the person who's infusing is only seeing it from a standpoint of a monetary gain. What's my ROI? You know, what is there about it? But they don't really embody what it is that you're doing. And I believe that when you do something special and you're making and having impact in people's lives, that all the pieces that make up what it is that you represent have to be in alignment with that. Because if it isn't, somewhere down the line, something's going to be missed. Something's going to be overlooked, because there's going to be a rush to try to figure out how to recoup or how to advance. And you own something so special with Wishbeads. And I think about, like, even within myself, you know, now I think about the other day, over 24 years, my life has been about contributing and being a part of the perpetuation of growth in people. You know, it was first with myself. It was with my circle of friends. It was with us all, you know, being educated and having had some modest success somewhere in our lives. But how that translated as we got older into our mid-20s, it was like there was like a cutoff, our intersection in our lives, where we all had to decide what we were going to do. And I'm bringing this story out because it was challenging. We had an opportunity to go into corporate careers, or we were going to become professional athletes, or entertainers, or producers and directors. And some of our friends have done all these things. We've all done something, right? Right. But
these are your friends growing up, or you went to university with, or whatever?
These are friends, some growing up, some becoming friends as we were doing things throughout our college years, or let's say post-high school years. Yeah. And some of them, I mean, have gone on to do some phenomenal things, have had hit shows, some have done great movies, some of us, in my circle, we're, you know, you see them on TV every day. I have friends of mine who...
This is a product also of growing up in LA, where it's like, of course, you've been on hit TV shows.
But you don't really see, I mean, what's weird, as you well know, we don't see it that way. We see it as kind of like next project, what we're doing. But the one thing we all had a commitment to do was that we were going to do things with passion, and that we were going to back each other's play, and we were going to be each other's sounding board, but also kind of like each other's accountability partner. And when you shared with me what your vision was for Wishbeads, it reminded me so much of the conversations that I had growing up with my peers, and sometimes with their parents, because their parents, I mean, for someone, you know, growing up in LA, you know, everyone from LA is from somewhere else. I think we all know that. You know, their families, no one's from LA really, but you know, I have multiple generations of family members who are here. But what I mean by that, or what I want to offer, is that we all have different character traits. We all have different unique things that make us who we are, and where those influences come from. It can come from somewhere else in the country. For some of my friends, it came from other parts of the world. So it gave us a unique perspective on how to look at things in a very open way. So when we had ideas, and we had concepts, and we had things to share, we would literally sometimes have nights where we would sit in someone's living room, bottles of wine everywhere, yes, and, you know, cheese and some type of snacks, and we would literally spend like the whole night. It may be from like 7 p.m. to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, talking out. It might be a group of a dozen people, male and females. We're all talking out what we had as a vision. And so we all held each other accountable for those things.
It's like an early mastermind group.
Kind of, sort of. That's exactly Beautiful. What it was. Because everything outside of that seemed to challenge that. Yeah. Everything, you know?
And I mean, my God, that is exactly how I've felt about our relationship with this and how appreciative I am of having that sounding board of saying like, okay, and I know your background is also as a marketing expert, but being, staying true to the course, how do you think big, hold the vision, hold the big wish of the 1 million wishes, but then actually, how do you pull it off? And what are the tangible steps that you need to take? And one big wake-up call that I had, because I've had various chapters in my career, first as a professional actress, then as a teacher and a consultant, focusing on communication and confidence. And in both of those two previous incarnations of my career, I really felt that there was this sense that I had to show up already being the expert, which meant it's not that fake it till you make it, but that first time I was on set as a professional actress, like, on a hit TV show, of course I acted like I'd been there 1,000 times. I mean, because otherwise I'd be eaten up alive,
right?
And so that was the sense. The weird thing that happened with Wishbeads was because this idea came to me in like a flash, in a moment in the shower, and I had never made a product before. I said, I have to do this an entirely different way. I have to be humble enough to ask so many questions. I have to be humble enough to find the people that know more than I do and seek that much needed advice and see how I can do it differently. And that authenticity, that humility, that graciousness of allowing the graciousness of others to just come in and being kind of vulnerable in that way, where you show up and you're just like, I need some advice. I'm not sure what to do here. And then you find that you sort of in a way create your own mastermind or board of advisors, which is awesome. And then hopefully it's obviously reciprocated.
Right.
So I can do the same for you as you've done for me. And that's the best way to build community.
Well, I mean, I'll share with you also, like, one of the biggest lessons in life that I learned over and over again was the most challenging thing about life is that there are people who live their lives without vision. And it's not that they try to live their lives without vision, they just haven't been inspired to have it. So when you're so blessed that you're given a vision, that's the toughest battle in creating any type of significant, to have like a significant impact in whatever area you want to have. I mean, that's like the start of everything. And it seems like when you have a big enough vision, vision casts shadows. So the vision can sometimes be, even the sun, as bright as it is, it creates shadows, right? And when you cast your vision, it allows for people to want to enroll themselves in what you're doing. And so I've always been mentored and told to have a great vision and to not be afraid of it, wherever it may be, because, of course, it comes to you. It's not like you're always born with it, right? And then another piece of advice I got was that, especially like with your initiative with regards to, 2020 and what you want to do, it's the person who sees the moon and diligently reaches for the moon. And there's a saying that says that, two men behind prison bars, one sees freedom, one sees dark. One sees hope, the other sees desperation. One sees the opportunity for what could be, and the other one sees basically nothing, no hope at all. The reach for the stars is to say that even if you come up short, you at least come down with stardust, right? So I love that you have that vision for what Wishbeads can offer to everyone else. I love what you're doing because it's you contributing to the lives of bettering humanity as a whole. Your initiative, not just next year, but what you're doing right now. I mean, the impact that you're having. I mean, think about it right now. Less than a year ago, you and I were talking about Wishbeads, and before I would have never probably said Wishbeads. Now, I'm constantly reminded every day. I wear this every day.
I know. I love that you wear your Wishbeads every day.
I only wear certain things. I have a ministerial ring. I have a reminder that always says, life without boundaries, which is something that my company did, and I have your Wishbeads. And it's because what you're doing is impactful. You're affecting not just a couple of people's lives. Through almost like the butterfly effect. You're making an impact in the lives of so many others, because if I'm mentioning it to someone else and they mention it to someone else, what you're doing, I mean, I just know that overall, over the next, few years, it's going to be like Wishbeads will be a household concept in me.
From your lips to
God's
from
ears.
the skies,
Yes, yes. The universe hears it. I put it out there.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Oh, that's so odd. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
but that's just who you are.
This is my intention. I created a course because I'm still teaching online courses, and it's around goal setting, and it's something I call relentless optimism. Like sort of this energy of what it takes to achieve goals. And sometimes this whole idea of like finding your purpose, I actually agree that when something resonates with you so deeply, you're like, oh my God, this is what I was put on the earth to do. It is kind of a miracle because I do feel that alignment right now. And I look back on my life and I can see why all these different chapters all make sense now. They all serve this bigger thing.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I've also heard so many of my students that they don't know what their life's purpose is, and it's that question that hangs heavy in their heart. And yet, one of the ways that I want to sort of comfort people, anyone who's listening, who has either had a Wishbead experience or is thinking about starting one, is that you can find a glimmer, a moment, just something that will just feel good to you. So when you begin Wishbeads with that visualization, it's allowing yourself to just imagine a moment where everything feels just right. Because in that beautiful space, that whatever you see or feel and experience, that's your clue. And it doesn't have to be your life's work. It's just a moment that you say, that's what I deserve. I deserve. And in fact, the other day, 2 days ago, I got up crazy early in the morning. 4:30, I woke up wide awake. And I hadn't gone to bed probably around, midnight. So that was like not,
Right.
I like to get at least 6 hours.
Hopefully it was a weekend day.
It was not.
Oh,
anyway,
well.
so it was a Tuesday.
Oh.
But I woke up and I was so wide awake that I thought, well, what the heck? I'm up.
Right.
And the temptation, because I, like you, very busy, lots of things happening in the old email inbox, there was this temptation to just like, well, I could probably get a bunch of stuff done before anyone wakes up.
Yeah.
However, I had this moment where I was like, I want to do something that's for me. So in addition to meditating, which is something I do every day for me, I grabbed a book that I was reading. There's a new book, by the way, side note, if you haven't read this book. Educated by Tara Westover. Have you read this book?
I have not read that book.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. So I will lend you my copy because I'm almost done.
Okay.
Educated by Tara Westover. True story, reads like a novel, super powerful. And so I grabbed the book. I made coffee because I do love my morning coffee. And I sat in one of my favorite chairs. This is tea, however, because I can only have 2 cups and then I become a maniac.
I'm a tea drinker anyway. I'm the product of a Japanese grandmother, so I have to drink tea at all times. No sugar, no cream, no nothing. It's straight tea.
Straight tea. Not green tea today, but straight
not green.
tea.
No, it's not green, but it's close. We're good.
Well, I do like my coffee, but as I said, if I have too much, I become a monster. Anyway, so I made my coffee, and at a certain point, right around 6 o'clock, there is a chorus of birds just around our house. Just so many birds, like just birds waking up. So I'm reading my book. It's a beautiful book. Coffee, the birds, the house is quiet. Everybody's asleep. And in that moment, everything was like perfect. Wow. Like the present moment was full of everything. There was no longing for anything else. And I'm someone like, like driven. I've got these goals and that goals. I'm going to make it happen.
Yes.
But all of that wanting, all of that, and I'm a believer in goals, but you hold the goal, but the magic happens in the present. And so I feel like even though there's so much language around finding your purpose, your life's work and all of that, I hope my other intention with Wishbeads is to give people a taste of the beauty of what they see for themselves that can be quite small, quite innocent, quite mundane, but the invitation to be present, more present with it. So that when you're wearing those wishes on your wrist, you're just having that reminder that says, this is what's important to me. Yes, I'm working towards it, but I also have the ability when I look at it to shift my attitude just in a moment. to go from like, oh, I'm so annoyed by my computer or the traffic or whatever, the bill,
Right.
the whatever, because we're all, stimulated by things.
We're all living life. Yeah.
And yet, when we're present, it's just the best, so that we can have this experience, and then whoever's watching or listening can have this experience in the moment where you just stop and look around and go, wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Life is amazing.
You said two things that caught my attention. The first thing you said was that it was always about energy. That was back at the very first part of what you said. The second thing you said, though, was about being aware of the present. And, my grandmother used to always say, my great grandmother used to always say that be aware of the present. And I used to hear it as if she was saying be aware of the present versus to say like the past. But what she was really saying was be aware of the present. And the present is right now. The present is being here right now. The present is hearing a plane fly overhead. The present is seeing a beautiful blue sky, and you're right there. And in that moment, don't overlook really the blessing of that moment. And I like what you just said about like those who have goals and those who have dreams and aspirations and they're working toward those things. Your passion allows you to really embrace those things in a different manner than if it was like an assignment. Some people, I think as all of us, I think as we've grown up, we've all been given assignments. And so we felt as though we had a deadline. We had to meet these things by a deadline. And when you have tools like Wishbeads, or you have other tools that support you in your vision or in your passion, a lot of times that really becomes your life. Like, I know you are the embodiment of your life. You're the example of your life. You're living your life. The greatest thing is like right now we're sitting, here in this beautiful, environment. No, really. I had a lost words, but a beautiful environment in your home, in your backyard. It's like, it's so unique.
My crazy retro 1961 Shasta Airfly trailer.
But let me tell you guys, it's so nice in here.
Well,
Seriously.
it is, to be fair, it is a remake. So we didn't refurbish it. It came this way. So it's a reissue. But it is pretty fun.
Hey, all I know is that it's something I think that everyone should have. How about that? Forget the modern Winnebagos and all that stuff like that. Sorry, Uncle Morgan. But anyway, but the whole point is that you're living life in a manner that's like so. Between you and between your family and knowing them, knowing your mom too as well. It's like. It's in your dad, and it's just amazing because it's like you're living the embodiment of your work. You're getting a chance to contribute in the lives of others. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes energy. But at the same time, it's like, is it really as daunting as, let's say, if you're working at a corporation or if you're working on a set somewhere and you're just reacting to what someone else is requesting that you do? I spent 7 years in the financial services industry. I helped to build a company and became quite successful with it. But I'm never going to forget spending 70 and 80 and 90 hours a week, knowing that any one error would cost me my career. Any one error could cost, tens of millions of dollars of lost investment dollars for clients. And, there was added weight of, if you look at the profile of who I am or where I came from. I came from technically upper middle class, upper middle class family. My father was a professional athlete. My grandfather was a professional athlete. We've always had some type of success, but it wasn't like that kind of success. I didn't come from the point of looking and seeing, 7 figures in the bank, but I understood it because I was exposed to it and I understood how to make it happen, and I was able to be creative. But at the end of the day, I remember how it felt to work for someone else, and I remember what it felt like. And I had a passion for the industry as a job, but probably like year 2 or 3, I began to realize it's like it wasn't my passion. And
that's when you embarked on being an entrepreneur, after that job? Okay.
Yeah. Well, the first thing was that when I first got hired, we were told by the owner of the company, it's like, I am so happy to have you all here. Here's your seed money. You guys, you're going to make this happen. Here's access to my whole portfolio. He had he owned a major brokerage here in Beverly Hills. So I'm thinking, man, I've made it, right? And in the same conversation, he said, by the way, guys, I just want to let you know that everyone here, I'm going to fire you in 5 years.
It's so random.
Whether he's talking to two of his own family members. I'm firing everybody because he didn't believe in the concept of being an employee. He believed in that concept of being an entrepreneur. So he said, run this company as if you owned it, because you own equity in the company, but run this company as if it's your own, because it is your launch pad for whatever it is you're getting ready to go do.
That's really empowering. I mean, it's interesting.
Freakish.
Well, it's freakish, and I'm sure it filled you with a lot of anxiety. And yet that dojo, like that opportunity, really created such a phenomenal foundation for you to then translate those skills into everything else you've done in your life. It's interesting.
It forced me to, I had learned to deal with, let's say, fear but it was always like in a sports competition type of situation, besides normal life apprehension and things like that. I mean, from a professional standpoint, I knew what all these things hanging overhead, somehow I became okay with functioning in that environment. It wasn't stressful like that. It didn't feel like that, even though we knew these things were hanging overhead. But it allowed me to understand the power of being an individual and deciding to believe in what you had the ability to do, deciding to be humble enough to realize that you're not always in control of everything, but you have a huge influence on how it's going to happen, being that what you do. And
how you respond to it.
Definitely how you respond. I'm a big person about react and respond. I know that most people, all of us at some point, we all react.
Sure.
But it's those who are really more present and understand that, you know what? Let me respond. Let me figure out a way to respond. How will I respond to this challenge? And
taking a little bit of a pause.
Yeah.
The reaction is no pause. Responding, you kind of take that magic pause so you don't instinctually say or do something you might ultimately regret.
Yeah. And I never give this much power. I don't give power to people and to things that maybe I did in my youth. I learned to realize, because of the circle that I've been introduced to over my life, I've been introduced to people who are affluent. But what's really interesting is that by the time I really delved deeper into that world and I became a part of it, I began to realize that a lot of people who were affluent carried the same concerns as someone who wasn't affluent.
Right. We're all people.
And, but somehow I had a role there. Somehow I realized that whether through my actions or through my words, somehow I had an influence. So, and I bring that up because, eventually as my career as an entrepreneur developed, I began to do so many more events where I would be speaking. And it really didn't start off with me like, I never aspired to be on a stage. To be honest with you, it was quite the contrary. But it was like, I just enjoyed, like with my friends growing up, I enjoyed being supportive of others who wanted something more, but not necessarily just because I just want to make more money. It was like they were passionate about something that I could relate to in some ways. Sometimes, very rarely, I may not, but in most cases I could relate to. And I wanted to be for them what others have been for me, which is like the person says, okay, go get it.
Go get it. Yeah, that champion.
Go get it. Go get it. But then also be a resource. How do I connect the dots? Sometimes, and you know this already. Yeah. It's not about you being in the middle of everything, but sometimes you have a resource and it's like, let me just introduce these two resources. Yep. And allowing the universe to kind of like make that into wherever it would be. And I'm trying to bring this all the way around and in full circle and say that we all have the ability to contribute to one another's lives. You have found a way through your work to make impact, not just verbally, not just temporarily. You have found a way to translate what your work is into physical pieces of or well, it could be jewelry, or it could be books, or it could be, it's something tangible that you created that sticks with people long term, and that they can refer back to, even if they put it down. And that's just so great. I mean, I think about what I do, and what you do is so much better, to be honest with you.
Stop.
No, because I could say things, and we can, and I can help people achieve certain goals, but I'm constantly trying to remove myself from the equation, because it's not about me there. It's about watching the evolution of good people doing good things, and hoping that continues to reflect on society.
Yeah.
And, letting the butterfly, I always use the butterfly effect. I always say the butterfly effect of those efforts hopefully make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just said something so interesting that I'm wrestling with right now. And I'm putting this out there just maybe to dissolve my own sort of conflicting ideas about it, but about that when you said, like, it's not about me. The weird thing that I've been wrestling with, and why, despite the fact that I have a lot of online students, and I love that work, and I love the students, but people will stumble across my Alexa Fischer YouTube channel, and they're like, why do you not have like so many more followers? Or
right.
On Instagram, Wishbeads, like, why are you only at this many followers? Because there's something interesting about the Alexa front and center versus the things that I create front and center. Right. And because there's this energetic conflict of me not wanting to really put myself out there, it's funny because there's a part of me that I can see, use the tools that are out there, YouTube and Instagram and
right.
and whatever. And plus my background is an actress, but it's interesting, the translation between acting and being a character and being yourself.
Yeah.
And if I can be of service to Wishbeads and this other bigger message, I don't care. Put me on any stage in the whole world. I'll be psyched. I'll be sitting there next to Oprah at Super Soul Sessions. I'd love it. But
that will be happening, by the way. That will be happening.
Oprah,
that will be happening. Trust me. Yeah, that will be happening.
But I also am so excited to let the people of Wishbeads and Wish Stories to be the focus, because it is. You're right. It's not about me. It's not about look what happened on my Wishbeads journey. It's what's happening on you and your Wishbeads story. What's happening with other. Let those stories be what helps let the butterflies fly, so to speak. So tell me about your Wishbeads journey.
Let me share something. I don't know if you know this or not.
I don't know.
But, at the beginning of this conversation, everyone, not today, but I'm talking about the beginning of our actual journey of really interrelating. You actually gave a male form of Wishbeads, which I'm still wearing right now.
Black Lavera.
To both myself, and I think you gave one to Roger.
I did, well. Yeah.
And what you didn't know was, with our mutual friend Roger, he had been doing some phenomenal work. He'd been traveling the globe and doing some amazing things that... Yeah,
this is Roger Fishman, and I'm going to put a link to his work because it's extraordinary.
Please,
it is extraordinary, people. As Devon is going to say, he's traveled all over the world to some of the most remote locations, and he's a photographer and videographer, and he's bringing the earth, essentially, and the earth's experiences, wildlife, and making it accessible for people. And it's staggering. It literally gives me chills just talking about it. It's incredible.
He's like a modern day Jacques Cousteau, to be honest with you. He walked away from such a significant, career. He's still very successful at what he does. But the reason why I bring that up is that, he was another person who was a friend who I was amazed by, like you, doing some phenomenal things. But he was at a place where, like us, he wasn't necessarily trying to be, well, like me at least. He wasn't trying to be like in the middle, like us. I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. I have to give you a hard time. But, he didn't really want to be the message. He didn't want to get in the way of what was going on. He was following a passion. And so he and I started talking about these different things. And I remember standing there with my wife, Daphne, and he just turned to me and said, we need to talk, and more. And so over the last year almost, through his work, it's actually opened me up to a whole different interest and passion. even though I've had other successes in business, you know, marketing, financial, and consulting, and coaching, and things like that. And speaking, a lot of speaking. I enjoy speaking, but you know, it was about trying to figure out how do we create an avenue to allow for his work to create opportunities for at least young minds to experience the world in a different way. And I had witnessed him actually doing this at PS1 with our own, with my daughter was in class. I'm not sure exactly if your son was in that same room, but it was at a parent in action at our school where parents come in and they kind of share what they do.
Oh, and was it in the afternoon where he showed his photography?
Yeah, photography and video.
Yeah, I saw that.
I sat in there like all those children, like mesmerized, right? Mm-hmm. And so the point of me, in fact, and kind of fast forwarding the conversation, he wanted to bring his work forward, and I had a knack for knowing how to do that. And we had created this vision for, you know, let's just do these different events, and since that initial conversation, it's morphed into major opportunities to do major events with major corporations. It's all of a sudden his work is in front of people who would have never ever looked at his work. And we're constantly right now meeting with people about so many different projects. There's a huge chance that it will be something you'll see on a small screen. There's a smaller likelihood it may be on a larger screen. Definitely live events, things like that. You know, so we've been working diligently with that. But that's been like what I've gotten through like Wishbeads, because I began to think to myself, like, what do I want to do next? I just turned 50 this past September. Yeah, September 11th's never been the same, you know. Is
that your birthday, September 11th?
Yeah, 9/11.
All right.
You know, but I'm trying to do something positive to change the narrative,
That's right. No, it's okay. It's all good. I have another friend's son who's 9/11, so but now I can remember your birthday.
See, thanks. You know, but no one ever celebrates 9/11. I just celebrate the whole month of September. So if anyone wants to send me like a message, the whole month of September, you're good, right? You're never late in September. But you know, his work has become my passion.
Oh, that's great.
Because now we're beginning to do different things. And so with Wishbeads, I create the possibility for doing, you know, major events, both here, locally here in the LA area, but also nationally, as well as now I'm beginning to, we become aware now that we may have an opportunity to do some things internationally as well.
Great.
But also not just for kids who are able to see his work, but also possibly for individuals and adults who may suffer from other challenges, whether it be they're visually impaired. We're working with people who are going to possibly bring sound, like a special kind of sound to his images.
Soundscape, wow.
Yeah, soundscape. So it's going to actually allow for them to actually, those who are blind, to actually through sound and through music, be able to actually create within their realm of vision, their own way, to be able to see what's going on.
Wow.
That's what I said, we've had some major meetings.
That's incredible.
But it's become the passion. And
That's
I've almost
amazing.
neglected some of the things I've done in the past. Luckily, I did some good things, and they can kind of function, maybe not as well without me, but they're functioning well enough that I can focus on some things. So Wishbeads has allowed for me. I asked, around the same time that you and I met, I was like thinking, what do I really want to do?
What's my next chapter?
What's my next chapter? And
that is so exciting.
Yeah. So your Wishbeads, ironically, were given at a time when I was personally in a transitionary period, thinking about what was next, and then our friend was doing the exact same thing.
Wow.
And so they're a constant reminder. So these will be constantly be getting renewed until some of the things that, I'm not only for 21, it's really only for 21 days technically.
Well, 21 days is really just to change the habit of having you stay connected to your wish.
Right.
It's not really 21 days to manifest your wishes.
No.
Yeah. But it is exciting in that you can change it. I have one, this one I told you is my big wish, my black one. But then I have wish beads that I wear that are actually holding intentions for other people.
Nice.
I have wish beads that are about something that I want personally, and like the moment with my book was something that I literally was so bad.
Her book is phenomenal.
No, not my book. The book I was reading.
No, forget that. The book she wrote.
Oh yeah, the book. But That is so okay.
Don't overlook that body. Yeah, don't overlook that, please. Gosh.
My issue is, if you're really going to get personal here, this is a long podcast, is that because I love creating things, I just create and create and create, and I never stop and savor anything. And that's my shift. My personal wish on a personal level is to slow down, to trust more, that it's not always about creating something new, although I really love it and I'm excited because I have to show you a new product I designed after this is over.
see, you see the conflict here? I mean,
conflicted. I cannot be
you deal with visionaries and they're constantly living within their vision. What is that all about? Oh, I understand.
But I am improving because, like, I read a book for 2 hours, like, at the beginning of a day on a weekday. That's improvement for me.
Do you think it's true that visionary people have a problem with ADD or ADHD? Is it possible?
I don't know.
Because you're constantly like,
I got to go do something.
Yeah, it's like we're like working now, all of a sudden we're like, ooh, but what about this? You know?
No, but I think the incessant doing is also a bit fear-based. It has to be. Because I think that there's a balance between creating because you want to create and knowing when it's enough so that you can be present enjoying those other wonderful flavors of life. Right? Because even when you and your amazing family came over and we had brunch, it was awesome. You all hung out for like this wonderful, delicious, half a day. And that's, if you don't make time for that, consciously make time for that, then your life can seem like an endless to-do list. And I think that's what I battle as someone who is still basically servicing 2 companies pretty much on my own. And the inner nagging negative thought of like, I don't have enough time. When we are bending time and when we are present. And another book that I absolutely love is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
I know.
Such a good
it's in
one.
my nightstand.
But when you are living in the present, time expands.
Yes.
Time expands. And then the to-do list goes away and you can release the fear of the like, am I doing enough? And I'm not saying that's your fear. That's my fear.
No, my wife Daphne suffers from the same thing. Yeah. As accomplished as she is, she's constant. I mean, some people have that personality where they're constantly got to be in motion. But you already said it. The president of being present now. But think about all the things you've done and how it reflects on your family, or maybe how it reflects on my family. They know to stop long enough to appreciate whatever is going on.
Yeah.
Your work reflects on your family, and I feel like mine is doing the same with my own.
Totally. I mean, your girls. And this is one thing, I mean, I know we're going long, but
I'm sorry.
I would love for you, no apologies. Yeah. And if someone's not interested, they're long gone.
Well, I hope you're still listening. I mean, this is the real deal.
We should do something special. We're going to do a coupon code, especially for the people who are only listening this long.
The secret word is
Devon.
No.
But your girls, and I want to talk about this Wishbeads. I mean, I'm so delighted, first of all, that men are resonating with Wishbeads. Yeah. And I have to tell you, one of the most exciting things that's happened in the beginning of this year was one of my partners, Uncommon Goods. It's an amazing catalog. Okay. And they carry 4 of my women's bracelets, and now they're carrying 2 of my men's bracelets. And I totally confessed to them when I was like,
wait a minute,
listen.
There's 2?
There's 3 different kinds of men's bracelets.
See, that's how things have changed. When I first got this, there was only 1.
That's true. Now there's 2. We have Black Lava Rock, Matte Tiger Eye, and Matte Black Onyx. This one. You're going to go home with the new one in case you want to.
Oh, well, yeah, I was about to buy 2 more, but okay, we'll go with that.
So, but when I was talking to the team at Uncommon Goods, and by the way, they're an amazing company, and I've loved partnering with them. Okay. But I said, if you look at their catalog, for men, because they categorize for gifts for men, it's like golf, drinking, and grilling. Like, no offense, but these is like gifts for Father's Day. If you glance at gifts for Father's Day, it's like booze, golf, and grilling, or ties. And I think, come on now, men are wonderfully complex individuals with lots of different things that they enjoy. That why do we have to like be so, so so simplistic. And so, anyway, so I'm thrilled that they're excited too. And they're aware of the fact that they've kind of been lumped into these 3 silly categories.
Right.
And I used to make TV commercials all the time back in the day. And I would always play like the kind of smart and a little bit sarcastic mom. Like that was me, right? Like I'm the smart person. So many commercials. And, but the dad was always this like kind of dopey dad. It's like smart, savvy mom meets dopey dad. And I think that as a society, we have to cut it out. We have to elevate everybody. And when I began Wishbeads, I totally went on a tangent there. I really felt that it was like really a movement for women, because like it's a feminine piece of jewelry, and every marketing person will be like, know your demographic and whatever.
Right.
And I'm also launching the paper bead version really in schools. It's something that's really behind the scenes on my website, but I'm very passionate about. P.S. You and your daughters in particular, they're just amazing, grounded, smart. They have such confidence and such presence.
It's all their mother.
Not true. It's
their
both
mother.
of you.
No,
You guys are amazing parents.
Well, I'll give more credit to her about that.
Oh, well, she's, incredible example of all of those qualities and more.
She's one of the best people in the world that I've ever met in my life. She is literally she's not just my angel. She's really an angel in body, to be honest with you. She's one of the most purest, most honest, most real people that I've ever met in my life. And that's why I had to marry her.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hopeful that, for your daughter's generation, for my son's generation, that we can infuse this tool and give it to people. I'm actually going to work on a book next year, again, like constantly doing things, that's Wishwork for teens. But the idea of your life, you're building your life, and you're building it with this idea that you can change your thoughts, you can change your goals, you can be present in life, you can connect with others, be a force for good in this world, and it's entirely within the light that you were born with.
Absolutely. It's manifest destiny.
Yeah. So I'm excited to, do this with your girls and have them be the leaders of the next generation.
Well, my girls love you, and they love, I made sure when you gave me the opportunity to have access to some of your work that I want to introduce them to like the app and to things like that, just so they can kind of get an idea of what's out there. Because for young girls, especially in today's world, they're looking on to social media, they're listening to a lot of external influences that are in essence defining them. And there's a depth that's missing, the part where character and self-awareness and things like that are being missed because someone else is trying to tell them who they are.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. So again, through your work, here it is that you're creating an avenue for them to be able to look within themselves and feel that what they're thinking about themselves or who they believe that they may aspire to be, that's a part of the reality. That is a possibility.
Yeah.
That there's a way of kind of creating a road to go about trying to figure those things out. Just different tools that you're introducing. Those things are, they would love to be a part of anything that you're doing, just from that standpoint.
Yeah. And I think this could actually be really a wild thing for you and I to do with our kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because there's something about being an entrepreneur, and I know my kids, especially my older son, both of them have watched me, and I know that your kids have done the same with your career, have watched to go literally from an idea to running over, launching my Kickstarter campaign. My youngest son, he gave me $10. It was his first, he was the first Kickstarter sponsor.
Oh, wow.
To watching this whole business being built literally from my home computer and a drawer with my supplies. And then involving them.
Yeah,
so right now, we have another big wish, where I'm introducing my product to the Japanese market. And I didn't know that your grandmother was Japanese, by the way.
Yeah, it was through marriage. My father aspired to marry the world. So I had the opportunity to, we talked about that. Well, we're not going to talk about that now.
No, we're not. That's a different podcast.
But that's a whole different podcast. Yeah, there's a wish bead for that. There's a whole different makeup for that. But the blessing of it is that I was able to be exposed to so many different cultures in depth.
Yeah.
And from a very young time in my life, from being 6 years old on, I had the blessing of having the influence of a culture that I have so much respect for. And actually, even one of my best friends, he is actually Filipino, but he actually exists in the world as a person of Japanese origin. His wife is a Japanese national. They live here. He speaks fluent Japanese and freaks people out. But it's what that culture. It's just a legendary culture, and it's very rich in tradition, but it's also very rich in bringing out the power of the individual. Mm-hmm. There's some areas where it's a little suppressive in certain areas, but it's a culture that the world revolves around, because in essence, if you can make an impact in that market, it spreads.
Well, there's so much about that culture that I'm naturally drawn to, and I think we told you that we'd practice Isshin karate, so it's a Japanese form of karate.
Yes.
You should come to class sometime.
I'm a Taekwondo Shotokan guy.
Oh, sorry, whatever.
High and low,
guy.
and low art. It's all about doing both, right? Having balance in the world.
Oh my God! But there's the logo for Wishbeads is actually the stylized kanji for wish granted. Did you know that? I don't know if I told you that.
No, you didn't.
My wonderful designer Satoko, when I talked to her about the concept, she came back with that logo mark, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's absolutely yes. But anyway, so one of the dreams that I have is to bring Wishbeads. I've identified one of the stores that I want to bring it to, and my kids know that I want to take a trip there. And one of my courses is already translated into Japanese through my publishing partner Udemy. So there's all these little seeds being planted, but it's such a joy to bring kids into the conversation about building a business. And for this new product I'm doing, there's actually a little movie that I took of my older son doing Tinkercad and doing 3D renderings of the new design, and really realizing, like, if I was 12 and I was like already thinking like an entrepreneur, oh my goodness, I would have loved that. Now I was doing other things that helped me become who I am, but my point is that maybe this summer we can find a way to bring your daughters in, bring my sons in, and talk about how we can bring the Wishbead paper bead experience to more kids in schools and programs.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. They would love to do it. And, for sure they would love to do it. I'm curious though, my friend, we have to talk about this later, but he has a daughter and a son that are around the same age. And they're fluent Japanese. They're here in America. And they're born here, but they live in a Japanese life, a Japanese world. I know the daughter would really be someone that you would love to meet, though, too.
That's interesting. Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Now we're just having a conversation with ourselves.
But I want to make sure you go back to one thing, though. I'm sorry. I apologize. I have to be
now we
present.
Forgot you were here.
I have to be present to a thought, though. I have to share it because it's like, remember, I'm always thinking about like others, and sometimes, remember I said I always connect things, and sometimes I feel like in the world I have so many amazing experiences that sometimes I feel like I'm having these experiences for myself, but many times I think I'm really having them for a lot of other people because I'm always constantly thinking, ooh.
No, you're a natural connector. Absolutely.
I want to go back to one thing you said about men.
Okay. About my categories of men?
Yeah, about the categories and things like that. But I think it also goes towards your work. Men have historically been very stoic about expressing themselves and even what they aspire to be. Some will be more verbose about who they are and they're sharing it, and it sounds as if they're a great promoter. But the majority of men, and it's kind of like a microcosm of the work you're doing or the work that I'm doing. There's so many people in the world who have great desires and great passions in life, but they never vocalize them. They never really take action in really striving for whatever it may be. I mean, it could be something as simple as having a beautiful garden at their home. It could be something as simple as spending time with certain people or some way really embracing life. It's a well-known fact that like if you go shopping for a male, you'll see here in America, you'll see probably like 4 different tones. You'll see a brown, a green, a blue, and a black.
Yeah.
And that's all you got, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we might get like a colorful tie or a shirt or something like that, right?
Right.
But very few things. And so on Father's Day, it's interesting because there usually are less gifts.
Yeah.
But then on Mother's Day, there's a great amount of gifts. And the reason why is that it seems as if within the female gender, there's more expression. There's more willingness to be seen, heard, felt. There's more warmth. And so I use the two different genders not to compare one to the other as being one this or one that, but it's kind of like a microcosm of what it is that life's about. That if we were to be more open to reaching for the things that we want, and again, I'm not talking about like monetary things all the time or a title or some aspiration that makes you feel better than the next person. It's about having a more complete life experience and journey. Your work gives a voice to people who maybe didn't have a voice for themselves, not for everyone else. I mean, just an internal voice. Your work helps to inspire people to want to begin to look further into who it is that they are. And again, you produce tools that are external, that are reminders. And I think if more people were to really look into things like Wishbeads or things like great written pieces or filmed or recorded pieces, if they only knew where to look and if they only knew how to use those things, I think that the next generation is going to be about that. I think that's what they're going to be about. And so, you know, we are a part of, you know, Roger too. I'll make sure I don't forget that because he's been a major influence on me in recent months. We're part of a generation that's really giving back in a time in history where it seems like everything is going, you know, the opposite way. There's so many people doing so many great things, but you especially are doing some great things with your work. And
thank you.
And I'm not just saying because I'm on her podcast, but I'm saying it because it's like this is an opportunity for me to let everyone else know. For someone who has, you know, I'm no one special as far as I'm concerned. You know, I've done some great things. I've been able to be a part of some great things. But the greatest part was that you're part of a team of people who do things. It's one thing to do as an individual, but when you're part of a body of people who are doing something, you realize that you see the impact. It's even more humbling. And I just want to make sure I let your audience know that it's not just myself. Others are watching you.
Aww,
and they're very
so awesome.
But they're very clear that you're doing something that it's kind of like an honor to know about before it really hits a larger market, because it gets so loud in there sometimes that, you know, you may not be able to hear the compliments, and all you're going to be able to hear is, you'll hear the responses of people, but you won't always hear from the people who love you the most and who are going to tell you, you're doing a hell of a good job doing what you're doing.
Oh my God, Devon,
you're making it happen, man. And it's like, and you are, you know, we all take one step forward. You're taking another step. It's going to cause for us all to take another step. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Oh my gosh, that I'm like I don't know what to say. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Wow, Devon. Okay, for the record, we have chatted twice as long as any other podcast.
I am so sorry.
So this is what I'd call the epic podcast, and it is such an honor and delight, and I am so thrilled that you are part of this journey, and you are my friend, you are my supporter. I want to do the exact same thing for you, and I actually have a feeling that we're going to be doing lots of work together, so I'm not too concerned about it.
Well, I'm not worried about it, but, you know, just know, again, like I said, Alexa, you are loved, you are respected, and you are someone that I'm so honored to call my friend. You know, that our families are friends, and that you know, it's ironic, our PS1 journey is coming to a close as parents, but yet as friends, a whole new journey is beginning, and that's the biggest blessing of all. So thank you for being who you are, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you, and you know, give you a super long podcast. But thank you.
You're just the best. Thank you. And I know that when I really search the core of what is important to me and what I feel can be my thing that I will leave as little golden seeds. People will forget my name. They will not remember that I walk the earth, but those little seeds get planted in the hearts and minds of individuals who can then ignite their own spark and live their own dreams. My work is done.
Oh, okay. Well, all I know is I'm reading books from guys who wrote them in 1920, and they had no idea. So you're doing the same thing, lady.
Cheers to many more cups of tea together, my friend.
Yes, we've been very chatty today.
Chatty. You're good. You're good.
Thank you.
All right. I'm excited to get you another Wishbead bracelet. Oh. And as I promised, for anyone who has listened to the end of this over 1 hour long podcast, if you use the code Devon Rocks, that's DEVONROCKS, you're going to get 50% off the men's bracelet of your choice. How about that?
Hey, all I know is I want to see more bracelets out there. I want us to be able to put our arms up and say, yeah, you know, hey, I'm a part of the Wishbead community, and you know, support this woman, support her work, support what's going on. I mean, it's not just about supporting the individual, support the work. Support what this is really all about. This is about all of you, really all of us. And you know, when people are authentically doing something, you got to make sure you're there with them to be a part of the journey, because if we're all a part of the journey, we have a greater impact together. God bless.
There's nothing I can say after that. That's awesome.
All right. All right.
Until next time, my friend.
Until next time.